Welcome to another episode of the Soundstage EDU podcast, where we talk about all things tech and education in the fine arts world. Today's topic is one that's been making waves in the marching band community for years now, and that's electronics in marching bands. If you've been involved with marching bands for any length of time, you know that there's been a shift towards amplifiers, synthesizers, drum triggers, and even full-scale audio systems. And let's be honest, not everyone is a fan. There's a real pushback from some directors who believe electronics have no place in the world of marching band. But today, I want to make the case for why electronics are here to stay, and why embracing them can actually elevate your program. So let's dive in. Let's first talk about why electronics are now a staple in many marching band programs. It's not just a passing trend. It's the result of a larger movement in music and performance. As technology has advanced, so has the way we engage with music. Marching bands, like every other aspect of musical performance, evolve to meet the needs of the modern audience and the performers. Today's marching band performances are not just about playing music on a field, though that's still at the heart of it. It's about creating a full sensory experience, combining music, visual performance, and, yes, technology. You see, electronics can help enhance that experience by allowing bands to experiment with sounds and effects that were previously out of reach with standard acoustical instruments. Whether that's incorporating synthesized sounds, triggering percussion effects, or amplifying subtle parts of the band that might otherwise get lost in a big field. So electronics allow for a richer and much more dynamic sound. Now, I know that some directors, especially those who've been involved with the activity for decades, myself included, feel strongly that electronics should have no place in marching bands. They argue that it's a departure from tradition. But let's just be clear here. Just as band programs have adopted new instruments and new music, electronics are simply a new tool to enhance the performance. Which leads me to another point. The sport evolves just like everything else on this world. So let's not try and hold it back. The old ways are not always the best ways, and they may have been then, but times are changing, and we need to learn how to pivot. You know how you always get a bit upset when the stand's clear at halftime and everyone bails to go stand in line at a concession stand? I mean, yes, we want them to do that because chances are we're running the concession stand as a fundraiser, and we need that support. But what if we produced a show that keeps everyone in the stands to watch our kids? We have an audience, and we lose them every game by not giving them what they want. We're being selfish by sticking to our old and antiquated ideals. And I totally understand that because I was one of those people. The moment I saw a full-fledged sound system roll out onto the field, I would disconnect. I wanted to hear the kids perform. I wanted to hear the kids make the music. I wanted to hear the performers shine where they shine best. Not realizing that the combination of the two could be beneficial for everyone, could be beneficial for the experience, because that is what we are producing here. Just like in the theaters, we're producing an experience for our audience. And this is no different. Just because we're on the marching band field and we want to go out there and play Sousa marches and things like that, listen, those times have changed. I remember in the 90s when I was in drum corps, my parents used to make a comment about the shows that they saw, and even the shows that I was a part of were a bit, as my mother would say, esoteric. They were strange. They were different. They weren't the entertainment that they had come to enjoy, if you will. And that's fine, because it evolved. Just like our modern music on the radio changes from decade to decade, this is no different. This will change from decade to decade, year to year, and even from school to school or region to region. And we need to embrace that art because it is art. Art doesn't have to fit into a box. It doesn't need to match up with what we believe. It needs to be an expression for the performers, the directors, the creative staff, all of those people involved. Their job is to create a new experience for you, something you haven't seen before, something you haven't experienced before. I mean, let's be real. How many times have you listened to a new piece of music or a new song on the radio that you'd never heard before, that was done in a different way, but it hit you in a way that had never hit you before? Our performance arts are designed, intended to evoke feelings, emotions. They're to make us think. They're to make us reflect. Or they're to make us calm down. Whatever the case may be. Either way, you have artists creating these shows in order to give you an intended experience that they're trying to elicit from you. And we need to let them do their work. And we need to let them do it in a way that they feel is best for you. So let's just pause on that for a moment. We've already said that we lose our audience every game. The audience is our lifeblood. It's not just a contest. It's the whole community. We need to get them behind us, supporting us what we do. We're supporting us in what we do, because that's going to provide the donations, the funding that we need, and even the attention of the school board and the administration of the school that we're working with. We want them to see the value in what we're doing, and we're not just out there as another accoutrement to the game. We need them behind us to understand that what we are doing is true art. And in order for us to be seen as producing true art for them, we need to do it in a way that they want to engage with it. And that it means more immersion. That means more modernness. It's not the right word, but I think you get what I'm saying. And I understand where a lot of you directors are coming from, or even some of you in the audience that see those things roll onto the field and you're like, bah, we don't need that out there. I get that. I was the first one to come against it. And it took me 20 years or more to actually come around and see the value of what we were adding to the performance mix. I wanted, like I said earlier, I wanted it to be all acoustic. I wanted it to be all naturally produced on the field. But let's be real. Sometimes that just simply cannot be done. Sometimes we need to produce a sound or a feeling from our show that we simply cannot do. So why not embed electronics in it? Why not add what we can and do it artistically? Because that was my issue. When I saw these groups rolling these things out, it turned me off, mostly because it was done poorly or improperly in a lot of cases. That seems to be the case now. It's done improperly. We got all of these people wanting to run out there and add to their show, and they're doing it in the worst way possible. And maybe that's a little harsh, but that is what I tend to hear. As a professional in the audio production arena, a lot of what I hear and see is just done poorly. And this can be seen in a lot of the groups that I've gone through on social media and other places and forums and things like that, where people are expressing concerns or they have questions about things that they can or cannot do. And a lot of that just comes from lack of knowledge or having the proper equipment to do what you need to do. Just this morning, I ran into someone on one of these groups that made the comment that their subwoofers aren't giving the impact that they would like them to give. And a lot of that's because the instrumentation does not allow for it. It does not transmit into those low frequency effects drivers. And no one ever told them that. And no one told them how to work around that or how to add to that or enhance it with what they have. And there could have been many things. Without seeing it, I couldn't make any real determinations for them, but chances are they had improper mic placement, improper understanding of the equalization of the system, could have been environmental, or as simple as having the wrong microphone element underneath that instrument to pick up what it is they were hoping to pick up. And that's where using these electronics smartly, artistically, will make the big difference. those low frequency hits that you want, those impacts that you hear from the bigger, more well-funded programs, they design those into the system. They design those into their instrumentation, and they often do it electronically. So it takes someone who has the understanding of not only the electronics that are being used and the idea and the vision that's trying to be created, but it also takes a person who can come in and have an understanding for the ensemble, for the overall feeling, the blend, the mix, if you will. And that's just not something that you're going to do well by throwing electronics at it and rolling them out onto the field. It's just not. It needs to be done properly. And that's where I think a lot of the friction comes from. I was recently speaking to another program director, and the term that they used was clunkiness. What can we do to eliminate the clunkiness in the sound of our sound system? And again, that's going to take something that I will have to go out and listen to and look at and make a determination. But it's things like that that I'm seeing happen that are, as people are starting to come around, they still express these concerns of certain things that they do or do not like within the whole idea of electronics on the field. So they are here to stay. We just need to learn how to use them properly in order to make them stay well in our programs. So for one, why are they here to stay? Why can't we go back? Well, like I'd mentioned before, they enhance what we're doing. They enhance the overall auditory and even visual experience for both the performers and the audience. When those performers know that they are able to produce a sound from another instrument, if you will, on the field, it gives them that feeling that they are producing the full-bodied sound. And I'm kind of rambling, and I get that, but this is kind of where my head goes from time to time, and I think you guys are getting used to that. But, gone are the days when we only had brass, woodwinds, and percussion and a drum major to create a show. Now we have a full array of sounds available. Want to add a synth solo or a bass line that adds to your drum line's groove? Hard to time, but yes. Want to trigger a thunderous sound that matches a big visual effect, something that you cannot do with the instrumentation that's currently on the field? Electronics allow you to do all of that and more. And when it's done well, these elements can make the performance more immersive. But it's not just about bigger sounds. Electronics allow for more control over how the sound is presented, which is the fallback that I see with a lot of these programs, is they're not controlled well. So, for example, using wireless microphones for front ensembles and amplifiers for woodwinds and brass allows the audience to hear all the layers of sound that would otherwise get lost in the outdoor setting. And that's important when you're performing on a large field where distance and environmental noise can muddy the sound. And as someone who came from a marching band in college that had probably 400 people on the field, you have that stadium full of people, and guess what? You lose a lot of it. I've heard old recordings from when we were there, or old video recordings, really, using, inferior recording products. But you would only hear certain things. You wouldn't hear the full bandwidth of the sound. You wouldn't hear the full spectrum. And that's important for the director's vision. They want you guys to hear all of that, not just pieces of it, not just the pieces that cut through, all of it. And that's what electronics can help us to do. This immersion, this sound reinforcement, and I'm going to say that very directly, sound reinforcement. I'm going to pause there for a minute. A lot of the problems that I tend to have with this is that we are amplifying the sound and we're putting it too high on top of the mix. We're putting it too present. And that's what adds to the lack of authenticity, if you will. It just doesn't sound genuine because it's not. It's not naturally presented. But when reinforced properly, it will bring people closer to the show. And immersive experiences are all the rage right now. I see them advertised online every day, full auditory immersion. What if we could design that to happen on the field every Friday night? Or at every contest show? I mean, we would fill the stands with people if we moved them with our music and with our show, with our sound. And the fine arts are absolutely capable of that. This is no different. A theater can fill up a house with a good show. Why can't your marching band fill up a stadium with a good show? Additionally, electronics make marching band performances more accessible. Programs in less competitive or rural areas can use technology to bridge gaps in instrumentation, providing a more professional and polished sound when done properly. In short, electronics level the playing field for many groups. If you have a smaller band and you're missing some instrumentation, you can fill in those gaps with electronics. With proper sampling, proper mixing, proper timing, you can make it sound just like you envisioned it to sound, even with a lack of personnel in place. So let's not forget the integration of electronics and marching bands as part of a broader trend across the performing arts. Orchestras, concert bands, even choral groups are starting to incorporate electronic elements into their performances. So if you're not already considering this in your program, it might be time to ask yourself, why not? And don't just jump in there. I was going to say all willy-nilly, and I just said it. Don't just jump in there with no knowledge. Get someone in your corner that's going to help you understand that. Plug into this podcast, plug into this Facebook group, plug into the group that we're going to get up and running at some point, and use us, use our followers, use our knowledge as a sounding board to solve problems that you may have. Because again, you can't do this all by yourself. Well, I can't do this all by myself. We should never expect anyone to tackle this beast of a problem. And it's not really a problem, but kind of is right now. But no one should expect anyone to be able to know all of this all at once. It is a learning process, and you'll always evolve and you'll always get better. It's like I used to always tell my kids, there's no such thing as perfection, but we shouldn't stop pursuing it because of that. There's always room for improvement. You can always do better. And this goes for us as well. We can always do better. We can always learn another way to do this better. And we should never stop doing that. Always be a student of the craft. So we've established that electronics are here to stay and they can elevate your performances, but how do you do them well? Let's talk about equipment. The key to successful integration of electronics into marching bands is high quality, reliable gear. Keeping in mind that you're pushing this stuff around. It's going on and off of trucks. It's being rolled down bumpy tracks or bumpy roads or across the grass. It's in the elements. It's in the heat. It's in the cold. It's sometimes in the rain. It's sometimes in high humidity. You need it to be high quality and reliable. This means microphones, wireless systems, amplifiers, mixers, and speakers that are specifically designed for outdoor use. And there is plenty of that out there. We just tend to sidestep it because it costs a little bit more. You can't just rely on your average concert gear. And I use that term cautiously because I don't need you to make a concert, but invest in equipment that can withstand the elements and provide the clarity and power you need. I'm not saying go out there and spend thousands of dollars on top of the line gear. I'm saying spend the money you need to spend on the proper gear. And again, that's going to take an advocate coming alongside you and seeing what kind of a budget you have to work with and what you already have and enhancing what's already there. Training. That's another crucial element. Many directors and tech staff may not have the experience or knowledge to troubleshoot and run these systems effectively. They may know how, but they don't have that real-world application that, say, a professional production engineer might. Now, here's where you run into problems with that, is that production engineer also is accustomed to a controlled environment or knowing exactly what they're getting into. And your guys' environment is anything but controlled. It changes from week to week, from contest to contest, game to game. It's always different. And you need to learn the different elements in order to adjust to those situations. So if you're not incorporating electronics, it's critical that your staff and students get the proper training. Understand how to mix live sound, how to balance your electronic instruments with your acoustic instruments, with your live performers, and how to troubleshoot gear quickly when things go wrong during rehearsals or performances. Another thing I used to always say is that every rehearsal is a performance. Treat every rehearsal as if you're performing. Don't leave anything on the field because it's a rehearsal. Because a lot of what we do, a lot of those great moments in shows are self-feeding. You don't want to leave anything behind. Take it all with you every time you're on the field, every time you perform. Because when you have an excellent performance, it's going to give you the energy you need. It's not going to exhaust you. It's not going to wear you out. I've never in my life met anyone that said, man, I am exhausted from producing such a good show. No, it energizes you. It's self-feeding. But, you know, things going wrong in rehearsals or performances. I mean, I have years of experience mitigating disasters in live events. They happen. Someone like myself coming along to mentor is invaluable. I mean, I'm not going to keep secrets from the kids and staff. I'm going to show you everything I possibly can and train you up as if you're going to replace me when I leave my production job because I'm getting too old to do it. I have incentive here. I want to help bring up the next generation of production engineers and have them enter the workforce every bit as talented and adequate and capable as anyone on my professional team. That's never going to change. I mean, story time, I guess. The other day, I was on a production, and that's why I haven't posted anything in a while. I was busy. And at a key moment, when we were supposed to roll a very important video for our client, we lost video signal. Now, chances are we had lost the video signal a couple minutes before, and we just didn't realize it because we run redundancies in multiple signals and multiple things through our video switcher. And no one noticed that that signal had lost. When you lose a signal on our system, it will show you on the video screen where we switch from that there's an exclamation point, letting you know that, hey, something's missing here, whereas there was something there before. And unfortunately, we didn't notice that. We weren't fully engaged, I guess. I'll be honest. It was busy. It was a hectic show. And there were a lot of elements, and we just missed that. And for about 2-3 seconds, as we rolled that video, we realized, oh crap, there's nothing on the screen. We had switched to that input, and we just had black on our projectors. And without panicking, without freaking out and wondering, oh my gosh, what is the matter? What's the problem? The video technician just jumped in to the very first line of our troubleshooting protocol and checked the input signal. And it had come loose. We pulled his comms over and it knocked our HDMI cable out just enough to kill the signal. So 2 seconds, the intro of the video was lost as it was fading in, but we fixed it. And those are the types of things. Most people would have panicked and just lost it and stopped the video and restarted it, but we didn't. We just kept going. And that's where training comes in to the mix here, because we train on things like that happening all the time because they do happen. And I want to make sure that your students are set up to be able to walk through those situations. So again, one of the biggest challenges with electronics is ensuring that everything works seamlessly during the performance. A full electronic setup can include microphones, drum triggers, speakers, synthesizers, digital mixer, full control of a soundboard, large PA or small, either way, an up and front sound system. Each of these pieces need to be properly integrated and not just hooked up and made sure they work. You need a strong plan for things like power disruption and wireless management to make everything run smoothly. And, I see a lot of these programs using wireless microphones to mic soloists on the field because they don't need to be tied to a microphone with a cable. So they get wired up with a belt pack and a lavalier strapped to the bell of their horn. And you need to ensure or know that it's going to work when you push that fader up for their solo moment. And that requires RF management. And when you're in a contest situation, not necessarily a game or a standard Friday Night Lights performance, but a contest, something that really matters, where it's going to make or break your sweepstakes for the year. Having proper RF management when you have several other microphones possibly hot and on in the area, you need to know how to pivot real quick if there's interference, or know what to do if you take an RF hit as soon as you pull that microphone up. You need to know what to do. And that's where calm and training and understanding of how wireless and RF work come in so handy here. So I want to address the directors who resist this stuff. And I know a lot of things I just said feed right into the reason why, because you got problems and you got another wild element. Well, I mean, you have a wild element on the field. You have 150 kids on the field. You have a kid who may decide to stop playing. You may have a kid who falls out. You may have a kid who trips and breaks their ankle. These are all things I've seen happen. But you don't stop because of those potentials. You find solutions. And that's what we want to do here. So I know there are some of you listening who are still on the fence about adding electronics to your program, or maybe you have them and you just don't like to use them. And you've heard the arguments, you've said the arguments, you've lived the arguments about how they take away from the true marching band experience. Or you're worried that adding electronics will be too complicated or too expensive. I get this. You don't have to go all in with huge electronic setup right away. Start small. Maybe just reinforce your front ensemble or amplify it. Use a drum trigger or two for your drum set that's sitting on that sideline as well. Help push them into the mix. Help them become more present. And once you see how well it can work, then you can start to scale up. Once you become excellent with the things that you have, that's when you start to scale up. That's when you start to add more. So maybe you've done some of this, like I mentioned. You've dipped your toes in, but you don't like it because it's something else to add to your already overflowing plate. You just don't have time to learn it and to learn it well. And you know it needs to be learned well. And the guy that you talked to when you purchased the gear told you, don't worry, it's not that hard. And they sell you a bunch of crap that you simply don't need. Don't worry, it's not that hard. It's not that much stuff. That is a mantra I hear in my industry all the time. Oh, it's not that much stuff. You could roll up with 3 freaking semi trucks and there's always someone there. It's like, oh, well, guys, it's not that much stuff. Here, listen here. I mean, it may be that much stuff to you. It may be that complicated to you. And I get that. And that's why you need an advocate like myself, like Soundstage EDU, in your back pocket, ready to jump in and give you the information that you actually need, because we have no incentive other than to make sure you perform with excellence, that you produce with excellence, that we help one another raise our art form. So traditionalists, they're going to argue that electronics are ruining the essence of marching band. But here's the thing. Marching band has always been an evolving art. We've added new instruments, new styles of music, new ways to engage the audience. Why resist? Why resist electronics, which are simply another extension for this growth? If you're still resisting, think about what it can mean for your students. Electronics open up new creative avenues for them. They allow them to experiment with sound design, music production, and live mixing. And who knows, the next great sound designer or audio engineer could be one of your students. And giving them the tools to explore those possibilities now could set them on a path to an incredible career. And finally, let's not forget that if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. Other programs are already embracing electronics. By resisting, you're closing off opportunities for your students and limiting the full potential of your band. So listen up. Electronics in marching bands are not just a trend. It's been 20-something years. It's not a trend. They are a powerful tool that can take your performances to the next level. And that's what we want to do. They enhance your sound, broaden your creative possibilities, and allow for a richer, more engaging experience for both performers and the audience. If you're not already incorporating electronics into your program, it's time to seriously consider it. Start small, invest in the right equipment, train your staff, train your students, and be open to what these new tools can bring to your program. And trust me, when you do it right, it will elevate the performance, the program, and the students that are involved. So thanks for tuning into this episode of Soundstage EDU. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to share it with your fellow directors and educators. Let's continue pushing the boundaries of what's possible in fine arts education. and let's raise the bar together.